All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join in here today. Looks like we've uh, got people mostly in here. See if there's anybody else who's just going to join up. But while we're getting started, I assume you should be able to see my screen okay. And so we're talking about the release that we just sent out with the new features and such with it. And just to clarify, that release number is 4.12.2.3439. Is now the latest version of PrebuiltML and or Estima, as the case may be for some of you. So thanks for taking time to hop in here today, and we're going to review some of these new features. Just point out again that there is that chat or Q&A section on the webinar controls. So if you have questions or comments as you go along the way, feel free to put those in there, and if we can get to some of those live, then we will, or otherwise we can follow up with you afterward on them as well. So starting over here in the more project area, and several of these features that we're introducing here are from all different parts of the program, but are emphasizing some more efficiencies and just being able to get around the software more quickly and accomplish things faster. So especially for some of you who are regular everyday users of these, hopefully you find some of these improvements based on user requests helpful to you. So over here in the list tab, so I'm in the project list area, come to this main wall pack. And you may recall that we've talked about a feature in the past called update identical products. So if we wanted to be able to update all of the products of a certain type, either within the pack or within the whole list, I can come to that specific location, such as this post, a 4x6. And you can see I have another one down here that's like it, maybe some throughout the project. I can right click on it and come to update identical products. Now the specific feature request was that many of the users were finding that often when they were needing to make a change like this, especially for like a hanger or things like that, they would need to be creating a custom product at this time. And so there was a request to add in the custom product creator button right here within this particular context. So I can click custom from here, go to custom product, and that will pull up, and then I can come to the attributes and I can add a special attribute that was maybe more custom, like super chain beaten or something like that. We'll click add, we'll create our new custom product, and that's added in there. And then I'll click OK, and you can see that custom product is there. It's been created, and in addition to that, of course, the update identical products feature has worked as well throughout the project based on what my settings were. So the ability to add custom products directly from the update identical products window. Going on to the another improvement, a couple of improvements that we made over in the quick check tab area. Come up to exterior deck here just for a moment. I'm going to go to deck decking, and I'm going to add some deck decking in for my item. I'm going to duplicate this application and maybe draw another type, 2x4 instead of 2x6, and put those in there. And now if I come over to the quick check area, over on the left-hand side, the general info section, and if this isn't something that you're having really paid attention to or used yet, it's maybe worth your while being aware of what's going on over here. When I click on this refresh button for the general info section, I just get a broad summary of the different things that are happening in my project. I can see like stud quantities total for different types of walls, wall sheathings that are being used based on the different wall types, different pitches of roofs that are happening here based on the roof decking. So there's lots of information that you could go to the project list and find, but it would take you a little bit of time and it would to actually get to that full summary. So it's a nice little summary here that you can find in the general info section. And what we've added in this latest release is deck decking. So that way, for those of you who are needing to be aware of how much decking or how the decks in your project and wanted to have that as part of your summary, that is there now, and then also broken down by the different types of decking that you might be using. Then over on the right-hand side in the potential errors section, I'm going to go to my settings. Some of you may have this turned off, and I do at the moment, so I'm going to turn it on. And really, these would be great things to have turned on. Is helping you find if you've drawn something in the Digitizer, but you haven't linked it. So I'm going to turn these guys on. You can see that I have these rules for unlinked application or unlinked usages. So when I turn these rules on and I run them, I now get this section down here in the plan section that's showing me, hey, I've drawn some stuff like floor joist blocking or some fascia right here, and it's not linked anywhere to the list, which that could be actually a significant problem. So I could go and find that based on what it tells me, what page it's on, the side elevations, and so on. But based on some feedback from users, they wanted to be able to just have a zoom to button. You know, just let me click a button and let me take me there in the digitizer so I can find it easily. So there on the right-hand edge, we have a zoom to button now. So if I'm wondering where is this fascia at, then I can just click the zoom to button. Of course, if I was on multiple screens, then that plan tab would have zoomed there. But if I click over to the plan now, and you can see that that fascia right here is highlighted and it's right zoomed to it and selected here on that particular page. So over in the quick check tab, you now have a zoom to capability for when you have some unlinked items and you're trying to identify where those might be at. Over here in the digitizer, we've added several hotkey capabilities. And so just another reminder about hotkeys for some of you who aren't aware. If you're using the software on a regular basis, meaning like, most every day and are just using it to produce plans, then I would highly encourage you, if you haven't already, to familiarize yourself with some of the hotkeys that you can use to make yourself faster at the software. If you go to Tools and Settings, over here you have the hotkeys option. And so here are a bunch of different ones. You can customize these hotkeys. Some of them don't come with defaults at first, so you can add in different keystrokes or change them to what you want them to be. But we made some improvements to the hotkeys in general, again, based on some user feedback. So I'm going to come over here to the upper floor framing. And or actually, I'm going to go to the first, to the foundation plan we'll go to. One of the hotkey improvements we made relates to multi-select align segment to point. So you'll recall recently that we added in the ability for you to select multiple segments like I'm doing here, and you can align those all to a specific point. So if I wanted to extend all of these out up to the upper edge, then I could do that. But now we've also expanded the hotkey for align segment to point to work for multiple selections. So I'm going to hit my hotkey on my keyboard to activate that, and you can see there with the tooltip that I'm already in that mode ready to draw. So I want to extend this out to here, and that one moves as well as the other ones to align with that particular point on the page. Going over the upper floor plan here, so another hotkey improvement relates to being able to align segment to point, so that same concept, but this time with container edges. So previously the hotkey didn't function with container edges and being able to do that. So here I can just select my container edge, again hit my hotkey for that, and I want this point to click out to here, and so that point and that adjusts that way in that direction. That also works in the multi-select environment. So if I had this plan right here, I just wanted to extend everything out that way, I can actually just click this edge and click that edge and click this edge and click this edge. And I'm going to just activate by a hotkey, and I say I want to extend everything out this direction. It's going to take it half a second to process all that, but then it extends all those things out that way in a nice even fashion. So hotkey for align segment edges to point, both for single select and multi-select. Draw more like this. So you're probably familiar with that command where I can come and right click on this item and I can say I want to draw more segments like this. If you're not familiar with hotkeys, then you may not be aware that you can actually just activate that with a simple keystroke. So I'm going to come here. By default, that's Control D. It could be whatever you made it to be in the hotkeys controls, but I can just click on it, hit Control D, and now I can go and just draw more like this. So again, lots of opportunities for speed, getting things done more efficiently. In this release, we've extended the opportunity for segment lines, or no, I should say container edges. So I have some rim on my edge, and say I just wanted to draw another piece of rim off to the side someplace. So now if I just select that edge, I can hit that same hotkey, Control D, and it will let me go and draw another segment line. So it's not another container, since all I'm doing is I just wanted to draw a line. It's just a segment line, but it draws that same type of material. So draw more segments like this for those container edges. And then finally, another interesting hotkey. This is really, it's not just an extension of functionality. This is a little bit of a different kind of behavior that we're introducing, and that relates to being able to get to the product selector in a easier way. Uh, Now, for you veteran users of the software, this should be pretty. I think you should follow along pretty well with what I'm saying. For some of you new users, this may feel slightly unfamiliar, but it's okay. Just follow along here. I'm going to select this particular set of beams right here. And if I wanted to change the product, as you guys know, you would normally have to right-click on it, and you'd have to come down to the product select or the product section of the menu. And then if you needed to change it to something else, you would then have to go to more products. And once you click on that, then it pulls up that particular menu. We've introduced a new hotkey now to allow you to get directly to that product picker. So if you know that that's ultimately where you're headed, just to make that change at that product picker level, what you can do now is you can actually click on the item that you want to address, and then just hit that hotkey, which is Control M by default, and it just goes directly to that product picker. So now I can come here, pick my different product that I want, click OK, and the adjustment is made for me. I can also do that from a multi-select standpoint. So if I wanted to change this beam and this beam and this beam right here, again, select them, hit Control M, and I'm in the product picker for those, and I can change it to whatever I want it to be. Okay, and then finally, and that's true even across different products. You could see I had a different product up here and different product down here. So what the rule is, though, is that you need to follow the same application. So if you cross applications, so let's say that I selected this floor joist right here and this beam right here. So it's not so much the product, but the application. And I hit that hotkey, it's going to tell me, hey, yeah, you can't do that. You need to be in the same application. And that's because the product selector is driven off of the application type. So as long as you're in the same application, though, could be different products, then you can get to that quick selection. Going down to over to the light bulb area now. So shifting away more from the hotkeys, some different functionality for visibility. I'm going to come to the main floor plan. So here we've got a whole bunch of light bulbs on. And let's say that I just wanted to turn off everything but the wall assemblies. So I've got wall assemblies on the top, and I've got the rest on the bottom. Now, I'd have to go back and kind of click through all these different ones, or I could toggle the light bulb and then click a bunch of these other light bulbs. But something that we've introduced now is the ability for you to change the visibility of items based on your selection. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click once on this top item in the list, and then click once on the bottom item. So I've selected everything between. And now the new functionality is I can come to the master light bulb, and instead of left clicking on it to adjust the visibility, I can right click on it and I get two options. I can either turn the selected items on, or I can turn the selected items off. In this case, I'm going to turn them off, and just those items change their visibility, whereas all the ones that I didn't have selected just stay in the state that they were at that time. So that can be useful whether you're doing it this way, like selecting stuff from the list, or it might be useful if I just say, well, I want to just box select around everything. So anything that I selected now, I can still come over here. I can right click and I can choose to turn selected items on or off based on that. So again, controls there for the selected items for master light bulbs. Going back to the box draw capabilities. So some of you make use of the box draw, and for those of you who are not familiar with that, if I come up to one of these three up here, the area tool or the floor tool or the roof tool, I can hold down Shift on my keyboard when I click, and that actually is going to put me into a rectangular box draw mode. You can see here the tooltip says rectangular. Click the first box corner. So I click once and I click a second time, and I'm drawing my containers in that box format. Okay, and that's true also. You might even find that more useful for the area tool for drawing siding or large areas that you're just wanting to box out. So it can be faster than clicking around a whole bunch of corners. But the new feature that we've added in is you've been able to box draw these containers with floor joists before. But for some of you who use them in varying ways in your projects, you wanted to be able to control what direction the joists are running. Previously, those joists always ran just horizontal on the page, left to right. But now we've adjusted it so you actually have some control over that. So I'm going to come up here to this floor tool area. And let's say I wanted to add some blocking in some of these bays down here. I'm going to come up to the floor tool, hold down Shift, hit the floor joist tool, and I'm going to come down and I'm going to draw in these a boxed area here to get some floor joist blocking like that. So I got some nice ladder blocking. So I drew from left to right, and as a result, the joist ran left to right on the page. However, what we've now introduced is if you draw that box of joists from right to left, then that will define that you want those joists to be running vertically on the page. So if you make use of the box draw tool, or maybe you didn't know about it until now, and now you're going to start using it, then you can use right to left will draw the joist vertically on the page, whereas left to right will draw the joist horizontally on the page. And that's also true for your roof tool as well. One other change here in the floor joist area relates to your labels, group labels. Now, a while back, we gave you the ability to right-click on a group label and to select associated items. But again, just sort of making things a little bit more consistent for you guys, and based on some user feedback, you can actually come to a group label now and just left-click on it. So in the same way that I can come to a single item, click that single item, and that becomes selected. In the same way, I can come to a group label now, just left-click on it, and all those associated items become selected. If I hold down Control and click it again, it becomes deselected, or if I click off of it, then it would also become deselected. That's true for group labels for joists, and also true for hangers. So again, I can click on it and have all those hangers be selected so that I can act upon them in a certain way. We're going to transition here a little bit to some new features that we've added into Hub. But I did want to point out for some of you, I'm going to into that. You might notice in your chat window here, I'm going to chat just a little bit of information. We're going to be doing a couple of webinars. So some of you may not be using Hub yet. Maybe you have just heard us talk about it, but you really haven't looked closely at it. And so one of the first webinars that we're doing, I just chatted a message in this in the webinar chat field there, if you can find it. It's probably flashing for you. And this is an informational webinar. There's a link in there you could click if you wanted to register for that we're having on the 18th of August. You might want to bring your managers or maybe other salespeople just to learn. The goal is just to learn a little bit more about what the Hub tool does in general. So I encourage you to, if you haven't really looked too closely at what the opportunities are there, that you do that. And then another webinar that we're having, I'm also going to chat that in here to the video or into the chat screen. We're also having a kind of for users of the Hub who maybe you've used it some in the past, but you thought, well, it's not exactly what I wanted to do. It needs to be improved some, or maybe you're using it right now. You're using the feature, and that's what we hope is the case, that you're making use of this new feature that we've rolled out. But we're having more of a feedback form and webinar. We're going to kind of go through some of the different parts of the software that we've added in, how it works, and then you'll have opportunity there to give your feedback right there during the webinar of like, hey, and I don't mean you need to talk in front of anybody, but you can type in and share thoughts of, hey, this would be better if it did that, or this doesn't work for me because it doesn't do this. Love to get your feedback on that. So there's both of those links. Encourage you to take advantage of those. And if you're watching this after the fact of recording, then just contact us and we can let you know, give you some links to avail yourself to those webinars that are coming up here. So those are on the 18th of August, and maybe a couple more on the 20th. But then just to return back as far as actual feature changes here in this version that we released that are related to Hub. So here I have my Hub window pulled up. So few things. One relates to file versioning. So if you've posted files to the hub, so in this case, I have a job. Let's see, I'm going to go down to my oak tree house job. So I've done my oak tree house, and if I go over to my file section, here are my output files. So these are the ones that show the different reports, the Excel sheets, or things that I've output from this actual material list. If I was going through different iterations of these, and the salesperson or whoever I was doing the work for asked for some revisions and changes, and then I posted them back. If you use the same file name, of course, it's going to write right over the top of the existing file. So in this version, though, of the software, we've given you the ability to go back to previous versions. So if I click on, say, this PDF right here, notice I have this little time clock for the file to view the file version histories. I can click on it, and here are the different versions of this file that have existed. There was one that was posted originally on the 31st, and if I wanted to see what that looks like, you can click on this little open file button, and it's going to download that PDF and open it, and I can take a look and see what that version of it actually looked like. But you can see here by the checkbox on the left-hand side that version number 2 that was posted actually today, that is the one that's current, and I could also view that one as well. So if I needed to revert and go back to a different version, then I would just check the box of which one I want, click update, and it will make that change. Now that will be the active file that's out there for everybody to be viewing and seeing as they use Hub and collaborate together on it. So file version, so again, to get to that, you just come to the Files menu. You click on the little dot button here that as you hover over it, and then you can go to that file version history. It's also where you can delete a file if you needed to get rid of one in particular. At this point in time, since obviously if you posted a whole bunch of file versions, it's like, wow, that could get really cluttered. And so the rules at this point in time are that we will hold different file versions for 14 days for you. And then after 14 days, then it will just stand to then whatever the current version is that's been set. So more like when you're in that, it's back and forth time with your salespeople, then you still have options to go backward and pull up the different versions of file that you were working with. On another note, when it comes to your display name, so I'm going to come over here to the upper right-hand corner and go to the account screen. And that takes me over to this side. And here is just sort of my personal information of who I am. Where's my email address, what my role is, what hub version I'm using. And then we've added in this edit button for your name. So if you wanted, you typed your name wrong to begin with, or you just want to add in your middle name or whatever it is that you want to do, you can come in here, click the edit button, make the changes that you want to make, and then click the check mark to save those changes. For those of you who are admins on the account, so you have admin control, if you come to the team page, where you can see all the different team members, over on the edit button over here, you should now, in the edit user area, be able to come to a particular user's name and edit that. So if you, again, like spelled the name wrong to begin with and wanted to change that, then you could go through and make those updates and changes, or change it for somebody who just asked you to do it for them. And then finally, again, based on some user feedback, which we really appreciate, it was good to hear back from some from users and hear what it is that would be better to be changed. So one thing that we've added in this version is the ability to have more additional contacts. So the idea with these are you have, of course, have your estimator and you have your salesperson, both of those that are assigned to the project in a particular way. But then if you have some other people that are you want to be able to follow along with this project, that's what an additional contact is. So previously you could only have one, but now you can see there's a plus button here, and I can add another one. I can pick somebody else, like add them to the salesperson. Okay, so now we've got 2, and I can even add, and so right now you can add up to 3 different additional contacts that are added to a project that are then following along and getting information about that job. So up to 3 different additional contacts that are there. And I see that we have a question about being able to essentially delete users. So maybe it was somebody that shouldn't have been part of the team, or maybe it was just a mistake of what you entered. Yeah, currently that's not an option, but it's certainly something that we will be introducing as we come further down the road here of giving you the ability to actually totally just delete a user from your account. And then what's coming up in Hub? So not in this version yet, but just want to, again, keep out in front of you guys how we're continuing to wanting to improve and change this. So there's 3 things I wanted to highlight that will be coming yet in the next versions of Hub that are coming out later this year. One of the big ones is cloud storage for projects. So if you were maybe interested in Hub more from the standpoint of I just want to be able to store my jobs in the cloud and be able to access them from a different computer, you know, I can store them on the cloud from work, and then if I'm working on the weekend at home, I can just pull them down from over there. So we'll be introducing the ability to actually store your jobs in the cloud, and then so you can have access, both yourself and then any other team members then could also be able to access those as well. Another feature that we're looking hard at is the ability for salespeople and maybe some external contacts as well to submit a job into the system. So they want to be able to use their phone app or whatever to say, hey, you know, can you work on this job? And so you basically allowing for that communication to start even right with the job submission itself into your system, whether it's from a salesperson or an external contact or whatever. So again, that's a second one that we're especially looking at. And then reports. So, and this is a little bit further into the year, but the idea is to give you a clearer picture of what's going on with your projects or going on with your team or even products that you're specifying. So reports, you know, how this all fleshes out, we're still seeing, but you know, reports like you could see how many jobs were completed in a certain time frame that you actually estimated, or you could see, you know, how long has it taken you to get jobs out, generally speaking, from when they get entered to when they go out the door, or how much siding did you specify last month. So different reports that you can then be able to pull and just have a better understanding of what's going on with your business and everything about your team. So those are things that we're actively thinking about, working toward, and hoping to be releasing here as we move forward in the next months. So keep your eyes out for those. And again, I'll point you back to those webinars that we're having later next week. Yeah, next week, a couple weeks. And avail yourself to those. Again, bring your managers along or salespeople if they just want to have some more information, and love to have you try out that tool even more and let us know how we can improve it. So thanks everybody for joining for the webinar here today. Hope you have a good afternoon, and we'll talk to you more next time.